Everybody, and thanks for listening. We are Ursula and Deb, and we are the co-creators of Universal Intentions, the book and the movement. Universal Intention is a powerful three-step process of reading, reflecting, and acting on the universal intention and to discover your own intentional self. Both of us have been working in the space of living, leading, and communicating with intentions for decades. I'm a certified neurotransformational coach and the co-founder of an international coach organization called Be Above Leadership. Deb is a communications and youth development professional who is passionate about guiding young people toward morally strong and deeply joyful lives.
I think we're all looking for tools to help us get through these times. And what we offer at Universal Intentions is very, very practical tools. And the book itself is 52 Intentions to Lead a More Intentional and Joy-Filled Life. But it means that you got to work at it a little bit. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about working at being with individuals that fill you up, and energetically maybe not spending so much time with people that are not a good energetic match for you. So with that, I'm going to read The Vortex of Nothingness. If you have our book, this is on page 34, and it goes like this. Protect me from the vortex of nothingness. When I stand before people who may know me, but who do not see me, I recoil. I check my words. I stand naked in a crowd. Where real connections are few, may the vortex of nothingness shrink, while I grow confident and strong. Great provider of pride, multiply my love energy, so I may pass through that vortex unscathed. Return me to the safety of those who truly know and love me unconditionally for me.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Thank you. And it's really interesting, as you said earlier, 52 intentions, 52 universal wisdoms, reflection questions and actions that go along with each one of them. And this one is really the kickoff to our conversation. And it says in universal wisdom, we all know people who make us feel self-conscious and judged. Sometimes it is family and friends, like parents who can't see us as grown-ups, siblings who continue to tease and taunt, or our childhood buddies who still see us how we used to be, or just generally people in that I would now call acquaintances, or the larger circle of people that we know that bring to us some judgmental, critical, adverse, or ignoring us for who we are energy at best in this scenario. So do you know somebody like
I think most everyone knows someone like that. And I really think that it can be somebody who's very close to us. It can also be somebody who just sort of is a coworker who just is in our kind of periphery, but every time that person is around us, just the hair on the back of our neck stands up, and sometimes we don't even know why. I mean, what is it that's not aligned about this relationship with this person and yourself? You have to first notice it and be aware that it's that little bit of conflict is even there energetically for you to do anything about it, really.
Yeah, and I think certainly in these days when we also have to deal with different political views and just a general judgmental negativity in the world, it is really important to, as you said, to notice that something in us gets activated where we feel belittled, judged, wronged, hurt, by either an intentional word or action of someone, or it can also be unintentional. So one of the things that I have found helpful in dealing with, people that I would not choose to be with because they lift me up and inspire me, is that, I've realized it's not so much that I'm better or they are worse or anything. It is about energy. It is just not an energetic match. So when we look at the more negative energies of frustration and, pride and egotism and fear and worry and scarcity and anxiety and judgment, those are all sort of those, negative energies, that if you are generally a person who is collaborative, supportive, focusing on strength, somebody who is looking at the bigger picture of the community, has a value around service. Though you, just as even as I'm talking about it, you can feel that energetically that's not a match. If you're a person that's a collaborator and you're talking to somebody who is really trying to protect a stand that they're standing in, and it's only about them, you can see that you couldn't possibly come to some kind of an alignment.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think the piece that really drove it home for me as I was reflecting on our conversation today is you have to notice that those are your values. The service value, the authenticity value, people joke with me because I'm not very good with small talk at all. Like, I'm horrible. It's like I go straight to, and tell me for real, like, how are you? And I just like listen, and I want to know, and it's true, and it's authentic. I don't want to just talk about the weather. I can't just talk about the weather. So when I'm around people who aren't quite as sort of like to go deep dive on topics that really are, to me, are of importance, of, we're on this human journey together, and how can we be there for each other, and how do we, lift each other up energetically in this very difficult time. I mean, those are the kinds of conversations I typically want to have, even at a cocktail party where I just meet people.
Yeah.
If that is not the case with somebody who's standing next to me, and they want to stay more kind of surfacey because they don't know me, and that's okay. Like, that's their prerogative. We probably are not going to have a very long conversation because it's just not going to be a match in that moment, and that's okay. There's nothing bad about that person. It's just energetically not going to be somebody I'm probably going to become good friends with.
Yeah.
And that doesn't reflect on me at all. It's not.
No, I really love that, because it really is layered, and certainly the two layers that we're looking at right now, and there's tons of others, but these two layers are energetic match, but it's also values. So in regards to the cocktail party and small talk, I am exactly like you. And so what I have chosen is not go to cocktail parties. I don't do big parties anymore. I just can't. It is, and when I go, because let's say it's a good friend that wants support, or it's a good friend of my husband, and I feel, you know what, I can support them. I can support my husband going along. I'm very intentional about not getting activated into some kind of judgment myself and some kind of negativity myself of going like, oh, these surfacey people. I'm very intentional, talk about universal intentions. I'm very intentional when I go about how I will show up. And therefore I do it, maybe twice a year at the most, because that's all I have in me. So it's really from that value and energetic perspective, we have choices. So we don't have to put ourselves necessarily in situations that are not in alignment.
Right. I think another really quick story on that is, I remember when my 40th birthday party, I threw a big party. There were about 40 people in my house, and I was, I was told it was a fun party, but I was never more just aware of the groups that had gathered. Like, this group of friends didn't know this group of friends, and this group of friends, and I was so self-conscious. And then I did a double check after the party, and I said, why was it so important that I had like 40 people there, right? Was it quantity or was it quality of time that I shared with a certain group of people. And honestly, from that time on, I have never thrown a party bigger than 8 people because I realized it was quality of time with a
Yeah,
smaller group of people.
people would
Now, other
fill you
other
up.
people, energetically love the big parties and the mixing and mingle with lots of people. I honor that too. It's just not me.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's
yeah,
not your,
being aware.
it's not in alignment with your values. And so what's interesting about that, I talked to you about this earlier on. I read an interesting article today, written by, I can't remember his name, in Psychology Today. It was an online article on values, where they live in the brain, and so on and so forth. And one of the interesting points in there was that when we are aware of what is important to us, our core values, and we honor them, it helps us withstand social pressure. And so there is sometimes this, everybody knows that you should have a big party at your 30th birthday. Everybody knows that you should have a big party. Everybody knows that. Now, that sort of, social pressure, consensus reality. But if that's not in alignment with your core value of deep connection and meaningful conversation in small groups, then that value will help you withstand the social pressure of people saying, are you having a party? You should have a big party. You're turning 40? You should have a big party.
Right. Totally.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
That made so much sense to me, because it also helps the brain to relieve stress and relieve anxiety, because then the conversation to people that say you should have a big party say, that's not in alignment with what I value. I value small conversations. I value small groups of people, deep conversation. So that's what I'm going to have for my 40th birthday. It
Exactly.
makes that communication a lot easier.
It's very clear, right? And so when you think back to the intention, the vortex of nothingness, we talk about, it said, when I am stand before people who may know me but do not see me. I think that's a really important line in the
Very.
intention, because you can be deeply connected to lots and lots of people, but I think we only have a handful of people in our lives that truly see us. And this time, especially when we are, in COVID, in locked in kind of in one place, I really encourage people to reach out in authentic ways with people who know you and see you. So whether that's a phone call, even just once a month, with somebody who just fills you up, brings you joy, is completely aligned with you, do that. Make the time for it. Make it happen, because it will be the thing that gets you out of that vortex of nothingness when you're feeling not so aligned with other people or parts of your life.
Yeah, I really like that you're highlighting this. There's this part in the intention that talks about being naked in a crowd. And it's really, you could be naked in a crowd, nobody would notice. I think there is something so fundamental to the human heart, to be seen and to be known, that it is actually painful when you are not. I noticed that the older I get, the less noticeable I am. It's sort of like when you sort of reach a certain age, it's almost like you're disappearing from view.
Hmm.
While the younger people on their high heels and cute little whatevers, they are noticed. I mean, I noticed them. So I was pondering that the other day, and I was pondering, I was sort of going, the older you get, people will sort of dismiss you as being, whatever. And that dismissiveness, really, that if you encounter that a lot, that can really be hurtful. So back to your point, having people in your life that don't dismiss you, but see you in all your complexity. This is not just your accomplishments and who you are, but in your complexity, your loving heart, your authentic self, how forgiving you are and all that. That is really important. The other thing that I realized was that I need to see myself.
Mm.
Because when I see myself, it won't matter whether there's anybody else out there that sees me. I need to look in the mirror and go, oh, you're pretty cute.
Yep.
Not right now.
Or without putting the looks part of it, you are an awesome human being.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I have this sort of thing. It's a mantra that I do when I'm starting to sort of sink into a not so pleasant place in my head. And I say, do you know how much I love you?
Yeah.
And I literally say it to myself out loud. And, my husband might be walking by me and he's like, are you talking to yourself? I'm like, yep, I am. And really, for me, it's the voice of my own self-love, but it's also for me the voice of God or universal power beyond me to remind me that no matter what may or may not have gone perfectly well in my, day or in my day job or in my relationship with my kids or my relationship with, my husband or others, I just ask myself the question, do you know how much I love you? And it just reinforces that there is this power out there that does love us that much, that deeply. And as most people know who have read our book, we are talking about a universal power, a power source, an energy source, and that is love. Whether that's, whatever God you worship or not, there is an energy of love that we have to believe in to stay on this human journey together.
Yeah, and we started with energy, and that's where we're ending. It's the energy of love that is visible in all the regular and not so regular wisdom traditions, from Christianity down to being connected to nature, and have that be your inner voice, the voice of love and connection. But I think this looking in the mirror and saying, do you know how much I love you? Do you know how smart you are? Do you know how capable you are? Do you know how amazing you are? Let's just look what you did today. I mean, do you know how hard you work? Do you know how forgiving you are? I mean, you name the list. Look into the mirror and say this to yourself, because then the world can dismiss you all at once. It will not matter, because you have that energy of love for yourself in your heart. And that is something, nobody can take away.
Absolutely.
Talk about takeaway. So speak to yourself with love. Remember that when you have people that seem not quite a match to you, it is about energy, and it is about you trying to honor a value that they might not have. That is not right nor wrong. It is just your unique value, and there is some opposites there. And know that that's just fine. And therefore, we are closing with a very, very apropos universal intention found on page 116, called Searching for Oneness, because the opposite of nothingness is oneness. There's only one prayer today: that your light might fill me to my soul, that nothing might matter other than this moment, that nothing is expected other than love, that nothing needs to be other than love, and nothing needs to be proven. Fill my soul with your light, so I may experience lightness and joy, so I may experience myself as whole and near to you, so I may experience my oneness with all and everything. Let this be my prayer and only desire, that my light-filled soul experiences itself as one with you.